There are 3 controversies overshadowing the Queen's Platinum Jubilee celebrations this summer. The ongoing Duke of York scandal, Prince Charles's charity being investigated by the police over cash for honours, and Prince Harry's autobiography. She will always transcend, but you cannot escape the fact that some of the behaviour of her loved ones has had a detrimental effect on the monarchy. Well, the Duke of York scandal has been solved to an extent because he's now settled with his accuser, Virginia Roberts-Giuffre. However, his reputation is in tatters. And let's not forget, although he has reached that out-of-court settlement with Mrs. Giuffre, she's only been told to stay silent for the duration of the Platinum Jubilee. So we get the impression that she might want to write a book or give more interviews once that period is over. As far as the institution of monarchy is concerned, it needs to insulate itself from any damage that might be caused by one or other of its agents. So that's why we saw that pretty immediate separation of powers between the Duke of York and the institution of monarchy when he was forced to be stripped of all of his royal and military associations in January. So there has been a separation of powers, but at the end of the day, any other revelations concerning his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, and indeed with Virginia Roberts-Giuffre, are going to be uncomfortable for the institution of monarchy and for the royal family at large. Similarly, the royal household will be keen to distance itself from any Met investigation into Prince Charles's charity. Clearly, there's been a degree to which Prince Charles has been removed from this scandal because of the responsibility falling on Michael Fawcett's shoulders, the Prince's former closest aide, who has left the royal household because of this notion and these claims that an honour was given to a key donor to one of Prince Charles's charities. So the Met may investigate, but it will be important to try to extricate the Prince of Wales from that, to suggest that he didn't know what was going on because it was all in the hands of Fawcett and others. But again, it leaves a bit of a bad smell. So that's going to be very tricky. The autobiography is also delicate. On one hand, Prince Harry reserves the right to write up his life story in any way that he sees fit. It is interesting, and it's probably the strongest shot across the bows that we've had throughout the whole of the so-called Megxit saga, with this briefing that we were given some weeks ago suggesting that the Queen's lawyers would be poring over every line. That was really a message to America to say, don't think that you can just write anything that you like, as you said at Oprah Winfrey, without being challenged on it, without offering a right of reply. You're going to have to be very, very careful that this book is legally sound when it comes to being published in the UK. Whether that will mean that the book is more tepid than we anticipated remains to be seen. On the other hand, you'd think that publishers who are paying Harry multi-millions to spill the beans are going to want their pound of flesh. So again, it could make for very uncomfortable reading for the royal family. The goal will be to get through this Platinum Jubilee period with the Queen on top and the royals more popular than ever. That's what they like to do with these major public events, to share in some of the privileges and the pomp and ceremony of what it is to be a royal with the public. So they want to reinvigorate the spirit of 2012 with the Diamond Jubilee and the Olympics. If they do that, that could carry the monarchy through on the crest of a wave of popularity, and you could have that popularity overshadowing any of these stories that are on the sidelines. The cynic in me would suggest that's probably overly optimistic, because if Prince Harry decides to drop a load of bombshells in his autobiography in autumn, and they're legally safe, so he's able to publish them without too much of a pushback, and let's face it, he is party to extremely intimate details about the royals behind palace gates, then arguably the palace can't do much to stop him, and it's going to generate a huge amount of press coverage. I suppose there's going to have to be some sort of carefully crafted response, a bit like recollections may vary when it came to responding to the Oprah Winfrey interview, if Prince Harry suddenly drops a load of grenades on Buckingham Palace, but we need to wait and see. And the Queen at 96, having had a dreadful couple of years and having lost her husband, of course Harry is going to be mindful of not causing too much upset to Granny. Whether he'll have the same attitude when it comes to his father and his brother, though, remains to be seen. The most interesting thing about the last 2 years, when you consider everything that she's had to deal with in regards to her nearest and dearest, is the fact that the Queen has endeared and endured on the throne, and that she remains sacrosanct and almost a step apart from all of these scandals that have engulfed her family. There is this sense to which she transcends all when it comes to the monarchy and the behaviour of some of its participants. And I think that will continue. There's a huge amount of goodwill behind the Queen, particularly and personally, because she is fast approaching her 100th birthday. She's lost her husband, and yet she remains ever stalwart on the throne, and people respect her for that. Even Republicans find it difficult to criticise the Queen personally because she hasn't really put her foot wrong. And she is that one constant at a time of instability, be it war in Russia and Ukraine or instability with the British government and Boris Johnson's leadership. There's always one person you can rely on, and it's the Queen, and many people share that view. So she will always transcend, but you cannot escape the fact that some of the behaviour of her loved ones has had a detrimental effect on the monarchy. Particularly, I think we have to cite Prince Andrew. She must have found it very difficult to have stripped her, some say, favourite son of his royal and military associations. But as we're constantly reminded, and have been reminded not just in the last century, but in centuries gone by, no one person is ever bigger than the institution of monarchy. Yes, there have been 3 major controversies, but the Queen will endure, and so will the institution she serves.